treatment. I'm talking to Anthony Solcito. He's with Microsoft, and he's K-12
I support education for
across
all K-12 and higher education.
USA.
Yes.
And you have some interesting ideas of what to share with America's educational community.
They're not my ideas, Ken. They come from just talking to schools and seeing not only the challenges that schools are facing, but even the best practices schools have had. And my role, I see it as almost as a collaborator. I take what I learned from schools, what they need, and make sure that Microsoft is aligned to deliver all the resources we have as a company to help them in their requests.
So is there still a movement towards getting as much technology as possible in the schools, or has that changed?
Well, I would say if there's one thing I've learned in my career at Microsoft, and certainly working with schools and educators, is a technology-first approach to driving change is the wrong approach. And thinking about technology only, or even as the starting point for how do you fix schools, how do you help students realize their potential, is probably going to lead you down to plans where you're spending most of your time managing, finding ways to sustain investment on technology, getting the technology to work in a classroom. What we've seen is when schools think differently around what they're trying to create, what's their outcome. One of the things you talked about is this notion where schools, they basically are going to a store and shopping for groceries. They're buying ingredients, and they're coming back to the school and say, okay, what do we want to make? How many people are we making for? What we want schools to do is figure out what the recipe is, what cuisine they're trying to cook, what are the needs for the dietary needs for the students, what are the issues around size and scale. Go to the supermarket, buy the right things when it comes to technology, and apply it there. That first part of the work, it's process intensive. It's asking critical questions. And by doing that, I think we get to better outcomes. Eventually, technology is part of the mix, but it really is just a component as opposed to the star of the show.
So common sense-wise, figuring out what you actually need, figuring out how to use what you actually need, and then going out and getting what you actually need.
And really asking questions about what you're trying to create from a digital curriculum, assessment. What are the needs of not only the students in general, but those individual students, those individual classrooms, etc. And it could be different for each. And one of the things that I think we appreciate is technology is growing, the capabilities are there. That's covered in many ways. Companies like Microsoft and others are adding tremendous value to schools, and the options continue and will continue to grow. They'll be best suited when they're applied to the right framework for the future.
Excellent.
So,
excellent. Thank you, Anthony.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
your time.
Absolutely.